Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, NT Racing League got underway a couple of weeks ago at the opening round of Brands Hatch. The Indy layout to be precise, so, short, close racing throughout, lap traffic to deal with, everything like that. Everything that I wanted for this racing league went down, and it was absolutely awesome. Now, I do want to give a big thank you to the controller people for sponsoring this championship and myself recently. If you do want to, give back to them or, go and check them out, then feel free to go ahead and click that link in the description. They make awesome custom controllers that are absolutely stunning, as well as pro controllers. Now, I'm awaiting my Pro PS5 controller. However, I have experience with them a few years ago before I swapped to a PlayStation 5. I did have one of their bright orange PS4 controllers, and that thing survived a ton of abuse. So, yes, you are paying a little bit more, but you are getting really good quality product in return. Now, in terms of the league itself, you've probably seen the Roadster Cup. I did cover them first. I've covered the Mini Cooper Challenge. They obviously all have one race each. These have 3 races, including a reverse grid. So there's no bonus points on hand for race 2. However, there is bonus points for qualifying on pole for both race 1 and 3. So, it's going to be a real tight, close race. Hopefully a bunch of, different people grabbing points, different manufacturers winning at different circuits. And to be honest, it started out as an absolute blast, especially for round 1. So it is filling me with promise for the future. I will be looking to extend this league as we go forward. Hopefully we can run a couple of, lobbies on different days for different people, and I can get all the championships together, all that good stuff. So if you are interested, just don't forget to, just drop a comment and I will reply to you, especially when it comes to Season 2 is when I want to kind of expand it. So sit back and enjoy as we go and look at the Super Tourers for the first time. So let's get race 1 underway. As you can see, we have Alexander starting in pole, followed by Timo and myself in P3. And it's looking like Alexander's absolutely bogged down on the start. The Subaru's getting an absolute rocket of a start. Obviously, the only 4-wheel drive car on the grid. Now, in terms of performance, I'm expecting probably the front-wheel drives and the Subarus to be, the most prominent and more suited to this short layout. Obviously, acceleration very much vital, and both of those kind of vehicles able to get good drives out of corners. And as we can see, the Subaru out of absolutely nowhere has taken the lead. The Subaru of Largen, so they are looking very strong straight out of the gate. We've got myself in P2. Alexander has dropped himself down to P3. I think he did drop a bit further back, but he's managed to work himself back up into P3. We've then got the BMW of Jace in P4 and the second Subaru in P5. So Subaru off to a really strong start, especially off the line. Obviously 4-wheel drive, essentially just giving them a free version of launch control, where they've got a massive advantage at the start. So I'm expecting them, even if they have bad qualifying throughout the season, to make massive use of that 4-wheel drive system off of the starts. So Largent looking very comfortable out front early on, and he's absolutely starting to build a gap on the rest of the field. As you can see, I'm slightly dropping back, and the rest of the field is pretty much just behind me. So there's about a train of probably the top 8 all in there somewhere. But yeah, Largent's absolutely dominating these early stages. So very good drive from him. I don't think I've expected a launch like that at all. I was expecting him to be good and strong off the start, but that launch was absolutely incredible. It's looking like we had a few bits of contact early on, as we've got a couple of cars kind of just lingering at the back. People do get caught up in terms of the rules for these cars. We essentially want to run them like proper touring cars, so you can bump, you can go door to door. Obviously there's still penalties that can be handed out if you're just going to be absolutely ridiculous and punt someone off on purpose. We're not going to kind of have that. We do have a bunch of people checking the highlights and such, but if you want to bump, you want to love tap, you want to force your way through door by door, then that's all good. You can do that. Most people kept it nice and clean though. We didn't see too much of that kind of action. The starts though seemed to be the main thing, where people were just kind of getting side to side, and then it was just like a whole bunch of a mess on most of the race starts for these. But I mean, somewhere like Brands Hatch Indy, it's bound to happen. It's such a short run up to the first corner. It's such an awkward first corner as well, with different cars handling it, you know, very differently. Obviously, we do have a wide range of vehicles. We have rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive on the Subaru, so they're all kind of different, and then they all have their different quirks. Now, they are all BOP'd, so this will try and keep the cars as close as possible, but like everything, you do have a few standouts at each circuit. So as you can see, as we go further down the grid, Timo is P5 in the Renault. He's been very, very strong in pretty much every category, and he's going to have a strong kind of not weekend, I guess, kind of meeting with the Super Tourist through pretty much all of the races. As you can see, we've got one of the Hondas there. That's the first time we've seen one of the Hondas properly of the Binners here. It's looking like he's behind the second Subaru, which is now P6. So Adam, or Atom, whichever one we want to call him, he is beginning to drop down. It's looking like the Binners here has got the move done. Is he going to get the run onto the inside? The Subaru's acceleration is absolutely incredible as it starts to get going. So is he going to be able to get the move done? No, it's looking like Adam's just got that one covered off there. So he's going to try and keep that Honda behind him. So let's go on board. Is the Bin going to be able to get on the rear end of that Subaru in no time? It's looking like he's managing to kind of keep up as they kind of get to the more top ends of these cars. But as soon as he turns come, I don't think he's going to have much of a chance with obviously the Subaru being four driver. As you can see, the launch it gets off of those corners is absolutely incredible. The Honda just cannot stay with it. So, but yeah, that's the highest place Honda. We can see we've got the second Suzuki there of Vinny Bear. For some reason, his livery has not loaded in, but he is, and I can confirm this, running the exact same livery that Alexander is running up in P3. So yeah, you can quite easily distinguish the cars from each other. Obviously, everyone having a teammate. We did have to have a few stand-ins this time over, Viper being one of them, hoping to get him a full-time seat because he had a very, very strong weekend pretty much throughout. He was a very good driver, very clean. You know, there was a few bumps and bruises, but he seemed to enjoy his time, and he does want to come in full time. So, you know, hopefully we'll have a spot for him soon. But yeah, that's the Renault there. As you can see, it's actually running a livery that is essentially on one of the Vauxhall Astras in BTCC in terms of, you know, the real world. But it is also very kind of suited to that chunky, wide Renault body. Still very similar to the Astra shape that this livery actually runs on. Then we've got the Toyotas, the only Toyota in the race. That's Archangel there in P10, so he's rounding out the top 10. Definitely one of the more nimble machines, maybe not the overall best on pace, but very good at taking advantage of kind of small gaps. It can pretty much get itself anywhere. It sounds brilliant. It's very agile. It's a little bit tail happy. You do need to drive it a specific way. If you don't, you're going to find yourself spinning around. But once you kind of learn to master this car, it can be a little pocket rocket. Probably the smallest car of the bunch, even looking quite small in comparison to the Suzuki Swift, which you will probably think would be the tiniest one. However, that front wheel drive little Swift is an absolute rocket out of corners. Very good grip, very easy to master. Maybe not the best on top end, but as you can see, it's doing a decent job here of keeping Archangel behind in the only Toyota. Obviously, he will pick up double points because his teammate did have to drop out for personal reasons. Last minute, it is what it is, but we've tried our best to just ensure that the Toyota stays competitive and doesn't completely miss out one of its whole cars for a whole round, because that wouldn't be quite fair. You know, any race can really, you know, sort of change the point standings up here. Obviously 50 points on offer per race per win, and then obviously so on and so forth. So there's a lot of points to gain and lose as we're now on board with Andy in the second of the BMWs. This is a BMW M4, obviously running the, I guess, most up-to-date BTCC livery from Team BMW. Then we have Empire, a livery which is usually on a Hyundai, is being ran on the Genesis. Now Genesis, although they're not having what looks like the best race here, because they're actually both in P12 and P13 respectively, is very much one of the strongest cars on this grid, and it is such a big and bulky car, but it doesn't drive like it. In fact, it feels very kind of maneuverable, feels very agile, has a ton of grip through corners, a ton of top speed. It's actually no slouch at all for such a big car. So those guys that have jumped in the Genesis are probably in for a treat, especially when we go to some of the bigger tracks. Now, round 2 will be hosted at Watkins Glen this Sunday, so I'm going to assume that's going to be more suited towards things like the Genesis, maybe the Subarus and such, and probably less suited towards the front wheel drive cars. mainly the Suzuki, which I believe may struggle, especially on the run up the hill and onto the main straight. But let's get back into this, well, I guess this race. So this is obviously race 1 that you were seeing. And as you can see, Jace is now under attack from one of the front wheel drive rockets, this one being driven by Timo, a very strong driver. He has not had a single bad race so far. We've seen quite a bit of him near the front in pretty much every round. I believe this may be the furthest back he's actually ever been in terms of the obviously the Roadster Cup and the Mini Challenge. Is he going to manage to get the run as we go on board with him down the main straight on Jace? It's looking like he's got a higher top end, but he's not going to have enough room to really close that gap up. However, through this corner here, I've got a feeling that Renault is very, very quick. Is he going to get the run up to the sharp right-hander, which essentially just comes back on itself? He's got a very good drive through there, to be honest. Much better drive than the BMW. It was insane just how much he closed up then. But he's still on the back. Obviously, a very tricky track to overtake at Brands Hatch. Not much room. He's gone wide there, so he's going to lose a bit of time to Jace. Looking like Jace has got away with that one, without having to drop a position. He's still on the back of myself and Alexander, as Larger has pretty much gone at this point. That is absolutely insane from the Subaru. As you can see, look, all the way in the distance there as we go on board with myself, trying to chase down the Suzuki of Alexander, now running P3. So there's a lot of I guess some of the quicker cars for this track are all kind of in a bunch, as Largent looks to have gone a little bit wide there. It's looking like as if we close the gap up a bit. As you can see, I'm not really making too much time up on Alexander here. On the exit of corners, that Suzuki looks absolutely planted, and even through it, almost getting itself up on free wheels. So it does look very cool as it kind of flies through the corners. As you can see, Jace now closing up to the back of the pack as Timo has dropped back quite a bit after that little off just a lap ago. So Jace doing a great job in the rear wheel drive BMW. It should not really be suited towards this track, but it seems to be doing a very good job for him, that is for sure. As we check back in with Largent, he's absolutely flying at this point. Absolutely a huge gap, maybe not as big as it was a couple of laps ago, but he's definitely still got that gap there. As you can see, me and Alexander coming through the shot in the background. So there's absolutely a ton of grip on that Subaru. It's definitely one of the more impressive machines. It sounds amazing too. Obviously that boxer engine, but in terms of its performance, it seems to be that it's going to be pretty much suited everywhere we go. So this is a track that obviously is very kind of low speed. You're not going to spend much time really on straights to be able to take advantage of there. It's quite tight, it's very compact, it's less than a minute lap, so the laps come by really quick. And it just seems to, if it's done well here, it has a high top end speed at places. So I just feel like it's going to be a jack of all trades, that car. I think that is going to be one to watch out for in terms of long-term pace over the 6 rounds, 6 meetings of this championship. I do feel like Subaru are going to be very well off. So you can see Timo's dropped back massively there from Jace, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. He just seems to be absolutely losing pace on the front of the front cars, should I say. So with this race, obviously this is just a bog standard race. There's no reverse grid, there's nothing to change it up. There is no pit stop, as you can see. We've just seen the Binners here. Now P6 in the Honda, so that's an awesome result for him. With the second Renault of Viper, obviously the standing driver this weekend, doing an awesome job actually in P7. So for your first time out, last minute call up in one of these cars, and he's absolutely putting the lap times in there. His Archangel now up to P8, so he's improved 2 positions since we last saw him. I'm not sure what's gone on there, as Adam's dropped back now to P10. We can see as Arch goes a little bit wide there. Is he going to manage to keep it going? Yes, he is. Luckily for him, it's an absolute disaster if you catch it on the outside gravel there. It can cause a ton of carnage. Is Vinny Bear going to manage to get the run on him here? Not quite sure. He's going to have the straight line pace. Like I said, that little Toyota, very nimble but very, very good on its acceleration. Looking like Vinny Bear's just closed up there. He's going to stay to the right hand side. Is he going to be able to get the move done? No, a little bit of lag coming off there. I hope Polyphony do look at these servers, because It's a bit frustrating when you're watching the replay and you're trying to commentate over it and you don't know what to expect because the cars are jolting around everywhere, but that seems to be mainly happening at the back of the grid actually, and we don't seem to be getting too much of that up front. As we can see, we're going to go on board Empire, who's trying to chase down Andy. Now this is the highest placed Genesis. Obviously you can see his teammate is just behind him in P13. Now like I said, this car is a bit of a dark horse. I feel like this is going to be, again, another car that's probably possibly on the level of the likes of the Subaru. Very strong car. As you can see, they're going side to side here. So I'll talk about the car after he's got that move done, surely. He's on the inside, Andy's on the outside. How's this going to go? Little love tap there, and Andy's just going to have to call it a day. There's the next Genesis now approaches. That is the Genesis of Demonetized. We're just going on board here with Andy. As you can see, he's got a Genesis in front, Genesis behind, so it's an absolute Genesis sandwich here. Demon's going to go for the move, is he? Oh, he's just run out of road there, and he's just gone a little bit wide. That's going to cost him a ton of time. Like I said, Brands Hatch Indy is such a tight track. You know, there's not many places you can overtake, and I wouldn't have had that down as an overtaking spot, and I think probably Demons you know, gathered that now. As you can see, Jody P14, as we've lost a car there. That's the second Honda that we've lost. That would have been Reed, so there's only one Honda remaining, one Toyota. Jody's just trying to, oh, a little bit of contact there. I think she was trying to stay out the way of everyone, and again, that's another challenge of such a small track. Once you start getting caught by the traffic and you're getting blue flagged, you know, even if you're in your own race, you're then going to be losing time, because, you know, you're going to end up getting a lot of cars come through at once, which can be an absolute nightmare. So you can see the gap to Lodgen has massively closed up, with Alexander almost on his tail. Jody there on the outside, just letting the cars through. They're both through cleanly, so am I by the look of it in the background. So Largent's going to go to the inside to try and defend. Alexander's going to try and make a move here. I do not think he's going to have the run out of that corner at all. That Subaru is far too powerful out of the corner. Obviously both of these cars seem to be very much suited towards this track. I don't think there was a race where we didn't see a Suzuki performing well, or the Subaru. As Largent's gone wide, Alexander's gone down the inside. This has also allowed me to close up the gap while these two are battling. So now we've essentially got a 3-car train down the main straight on lap 18 out of 25, so there's not much to go. 6 laps to go at this point, and there is still 3 cars very much battling for a lead. As you can see, we're riding on board myself as we get on the bumper of Largent. Are we going to be able to get the move done on the inside here? Largent may be losing 2 places within a single lap after dominating the early stages. He's going to try and fight back. Is he going to be able to get it done on the outside? As we saw with Demon, that is not the best place to go for the overtake. As you can see, we're riding bumper to bumper, and it's looking like Alexander now is managing to pull a bit of a gap, because of me and Largent having a nice little fight there between the cars. So Largent's going to be absolutely kicking himself down 2 places within a lap, allowing the Suzuki through, and then the Mazda as well. As you can see, Jace just coming through the shot there. He's, I'm going to assume, a little bit too far back. Unless anything major happens, I think he's going to have to settle for P4. He's almost in no man's land at this point, as the Renault of Timo again, P5 sort of again in no man's land. So, you know, Jace doing a very good job there for Team BMW. That's going to be some great points scored early on in this championship. Same with Timo. Obviously we've got both the Renaults in P5 and P7, so they're having a very strong showing. The Binners here, the only surviving Honda, still going in P6. That's very respectable. That car is very much not suited to this track. The Honda does not seem to like it round here. It just seems to have it's more of a, I guess, power suited track focused car. Definitely not having the any advantage whatsoever at this track. Viper, again, the stand-in, like I've said about him, awesome drive from him for a stand-in, as Vinny Bear has now got himself past Archangel. Looking like Empire might be able to get himself past Arch as well. Obviously that Genesis, like I was saying earlier, a very powerful machine. It's looking like we had a bit of a twitch there from Arch, so that's going to allow Empire to close up even more. He's now obviously in the top 10. Andy P11, Demon P12. He was going for the move then, and he couldn't quite get it. It's obviously the Mazda of Jody trying to stay out the way there. Are both cars going to get through cleanly? Yes, they are. Empire continuing to chase down this little Toyota. It's almost like a brick chasing a stone or a pebble at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous, the size difference of these cars. Empire's right on the back of him. Is he going to go down the inside here? Oh, they're both pushing each other to the limit, and Empire does get through. Arch is straight on his rear bumper. Nice little love tap there. He is not happy about letting that position go, as he still rounds out the top 10, but he's again lost a few positions, so he's gained some and lost them, and he's got a bit more work to do if he wants to get on the back of that Genesis. But it's looking like Empire's having an awesome recovery drive there. Not sure why both Genesis are so far down the grid. I can only assume it's going to be through maybe a bit of an off or something at the start. As you can see, we've got two big cars there battling. So we've got Adam and Demonetized in the second Genesis, both chasing each other down. Is Adam going to get through cleanly? Yes, he is. So both cars through past the lap traffic, nice and clean, as Demon looking to stretch his legs there. Awesome top end speed on that Genesis. That's incredible, as it's looking like Adam's lost 1.5 seconds on that lap alone. So not really sure there. Andy P13 in the BMW, as he's about to get lapped by traffic. Is he going to let everyone through nice and cleanly? I'm going to assume yes. So as you can see, he's going into the right-hander. Here comes the leading cars on the leading lap, as Jodie's also trying to get out of the way there. As we can see, Timo coming up behind her. So Alexander, he leads the way, and with all this traffic, he's managing to pull out a nice, comfortable lead at this point. So really well done by him. We did expect that the Suzuki would be very quick around Brands Hatch and very suited to the Indy layout. Obviously, such a small track for a small little front wheel drive car, it should be performing well, and it seems to have done that in terms of its overall kind of race pace. It seems to be very quick, obviously taking pole, so he will get bonus points for that in this race. 5 bonus points for that. If he takes the win, he'll also get 50 points for the win. That will give him 55 points within a single race, which is definitely what he needs, as well as fastest lap. So that will give him the maximum amount of points he can actually get for this race, which would actually take him to 60. So I'm going to assume that nobody's really going to nick that fastest lap now, considering most of the faster cars are now stuck in traffic. So we've got 2 BMWs there actually having a collision. So Andy may be getting in the way and impeding his teammate a little bit there, as Jace looks to actually have caught up now. So all this traffic has really started catching, allowing people to catch, as Jace getting a bit of a snap there. So he's going to drop back, but it's looking like this traffic has really just kind of thrown all these cars off, with cars starting to begin to catch each other in this race. So as you can see, that so far we are on the final lap, and Alexander is looking to take the first win of the season for the Super Tourers, the main event. So the top 8 is as follows currently. We've got Alexander, myself, then we've got Largent P3, Jace P4 for Team BMW, P5 for Team Renault for Timo. The bin is here, the only surviving Honda in P6, Viper, the standing driver for Renault, in P7, and Vinny Beer, the second of the Suzuki's, in P8. So Suzuki having a great day, Renault having a great day, both front wheel drive machines, the only front wheel drive cars in it. And Alexander's going to take the win for race 1. Very well done to him. Myself P2, we've seen Adam go P12, Largent P3, Jace P4 for Team BMW, that's a great result. Andy P14, Timo P5 in the Renault. The bin is here, he's going to take P6 surely in the Honda. That's a very good result for that team. A track this car just should be absolutely nowhere at. Pretty much in no man's land for the whole race, but he is going to get a very comfortable P6. Well done to him. Viper, the stand-in, awesome job for a P7 for him. Vinny Beer, he's going to round out the top 8. Is he though? Because Empire is right behind him, but he is going to have to serve a penalty. So Vinny Beer P8, Empire P9 in the first of the Genesis. And to round out the top 10, it's going to be Archangel in the only Toyota in this race, but he will get double points for that P10 for his constructor, only not himself. So well done to Arch for a 10th place finish. Demon P11 in the second Genesis. So awesome racing by all. Very well done. That is race 1 done. So let's go and head over to our reverse grid race, our sprint race of the bunch, for a 12 lap shootout between all the cars. I'll see you over there in a second. Race 2 and our reverse grid sprint format. So the grid is going to be massively mixed up for this one, and it's looking like the best of the starters is obviously yet again the Subaru, absolutely launching away there at the start, with Jodie also getting herself in P2, taking a little nudge from Empire there and then taking a nudge from another BMW, so that's going to cause her to drop back. We've got a spinner at the back, that will be the other Genesis of Demon. So up front we've got Adam leading the way in the Subaru with Empire, and the bin is here. So Honda having a great show in there, managing to hold position off the start and get away quite strongly. So this is definitely one of the shorter races that we're going to have. Obviously only 12 laps, so it's half distance. The whole grid is sort of shaken up, so there's no kind of points for pole here because the grid is obviously reversed. You still get the bonus points for fastest lap though, so that is still out there to grab from this one, as well as this allows people that may not be the strongest drivers to have another chance at maybe even possibly getting a good haul of points. So Adam's looking quite comfortable out in front, followed by Empire with the bin just dropping back off the front too. So it's quite close by this with the Subaru and the Genesis at this point. In fact, the Honda looking to be closing that gap up as they go around these next few corners. So we've got essentially a 3-horse race for the lead as Empire goes absolutely massively wide there. Not quite sure what happened there. He didn't lose any time though, so that's all good. The bin is here though, is right on the back, so let's go on board. Is he going to be able to get a good run down the main straight? It's looking like he's just dropped back a bit there, so I'm not quite sure what happened. But again, these two cars up front are very renowned for kind of, you know, launching, especially out of corners. So both of them much stronger than the Honda in that terms, and it's looking like they're both through there quite nicely. So the Binners here is doing a great job in that Honda with him P3. Jace is already up to P4. He was starting all the way at the back pretty much, so he's having a really strong drive here. This could be a great result for Team BMW if they continue this way and they keep getting consistent results. It's going to be nothing but a great points haul. That's one of the Renaults going wide. I think that's Timo. Yes, it was. So now we have Jason P4, Andy in the second BMW P5, myself P6, as you can see. Timo losing 2 positions there by running off wide. We've got Archangel P8, so he's rounding out the top 8. As Binners he has made a move on Empire, and he's looking to be pulling there, so I'm not quite sure what happened to Empire, but he has massively lost out on one of those crucial positions as myself and Andy go side by side. Jace with the fastest lap of a 48.785. So we're still side by side, the BMW and Mazda. Who's going to come out on top? We're going to go on the outside line. Andy's going to go inside. We're going to try and get the cut back. Are we going to be able to manage to do it? Not quite. As you can see, he's got a rear view mirror full of Mazda, and we're going to get him on the inside there, managing to get the move done. And that looks like Timo now ganging up on the BMW, so the BMW is going to lose out 2 positions. Oh, there's contact, but Timo's managed to keep it going. Oh no, he hasn't. He's ran wide. So is Andy going to get that position back? Yes, he is. So Andy back in P6 with a bit of rough and tough stuff. It kind of is what it is. You know, this is a touring championship, so you know, bumping, banging, door-to-door action, it's all allowed, and it kind of keeps it entertaining. Obviously anything ridiculous and intentional that kind of, you know, absolutely wipes someone out is not allowed. But you know, if you're going to do a little love tap, that's fully within the rules. Reed managing to keep his Honda in P9 currently, so that's going to be a much better result for him. Obviously a DNF in the previous race as Off-World Adam has got the fastest lap of the race in the Subaru of 48.687, so that's a great lap from him, and he's going to be getting some crucial points if it stays that way. All he needs to do is get the fastest lap, and if he continues this with a win, he'll get the maximum available points for this. And that's another bit of contact between Andy and Timo. Not sure if that was caused by the server lag or if he intentionally hit him in the back. I wouldn't think so, but you know, we'll double check that one. Alexander currently P7, so he's starting to work his way up the grid as we've got demonetized in P9, battling with Archangel here, as you can see, side by side. Who's going to come out on top here? It's looking like Arch may be able to do it, but Demon is on the inside. Obviously that Toyota very nimble, managing to just keep that big Genesis behind him. Obviously you can see Reed there now P10, so both Hondas in the top 10. That's a decent result for them. So far as the Binners here is now P3. as Jace goes into P2, and he's going to be looking to chase down Adam. As the Vinny has managed to get past him as well. We're currently on board with Demon here, as he's looking to make the move on Archangel. He's got a much better drive out of there. Is he going to manage to get this move done? It's looking like he may just have it done. They're still side by side. There's absolutely nothing in it in the straights, and Archer's got the inside line there, but it's looking like Demon's going to get the cutback. Yes, he is. Nicely done. That is P8 for him. Arch dropping down to P9 as one of the Suzuki's has a penalty there. Not quite sure what for. And oh, Reed's gone wide, so Largent goes through P10. Timo all the way down in P11. So he's dropped massively back after that accident with Andy there, as Reed's looking to end up dropping more positions. As he managed to get that one covered off? Yes, he has. So he's still P11. He's forcing Timo around the wide line. Vinny Bear P13 in the second Suzuki, Viper P14 in the Renault, and Jody P15. Now, she did get a really good start, and she managed to get herself up into P2. Obviously, there was quite a bit of contact, and I feel like that's just unsettled her race, and it's probably just unravelled from there, which is a shame, to be honest, because she did get a really decent start, and she did have the chance to get some decent points. So hopefully she'll come back better and stronger in the third race. So we've got a change for the lead here. It's the Binners here. He's leading, so Adam's gone off somewhere. He's now down in P5, so that's not good for him. Jace is P2 in the BMW, myself in P3, with Empire now down in P4. So the first two cars that were essentially battling it out in the early stages, Empire and Adam, are now P4 and P5 respectively, so they're not going to be happy with that. As we're going to see, we've got Empire just behind my Mazda, looking like we've managed to get a decent advantage in terms of straight line speed, as Jace is now trying his best to chase down the Honda of the bin. So we're going to see what's going to unfold with only 3 to go as we go on board with Empire. Is he going to manage to close up on the exit of these corners? He took a really strange line through there, quite wide, so I don't think he's going to close up too much. Empire definitely having the stronger car through the corners, and also still being able to maintain a good top speed. We've got a yellow flag out, so not quite sure what that's for. It's gone away pretty quickly. I can't see any car that shouldn't really be there just yet, as Alexander's got through past off-world Atom, so that's going to be a top 5 for him so far, with Andy in P7 still, and Demon in P8, quite close to the back of Andy there by the look of it, as the Binners here is now overlapping his teammate. So Reed he's gone off as well, so again another disappointing race for him, as he ends up in the barrier. So we've got the Binners here in P1, Jace P2, myself P3, Empire P4 and Alexander P5. So that's what your top 5 is currently. In terms of top 8, we've got Adam now down in P6, Andy P7 and Demon at P8. Empire currently has the fastest lap of a 48.267, so he's the one that's going to currently take the bonus points away, the bonus 5 points which are available in each round for fastest lap. Pretty crucial, especially in the long term of the championship. Any little extra points you can get is a good thing, as we've still got the yellow flag out. I'm going to assume that's probably still the Honda of Reed. So while we've got 100, yes it is, so while we've got 100 out from winning the race, we've got one you know, at the other end of the field, so that is going to allow Jody as well to get a few extra points over Reed. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top after all of these. If you do DNF, that counts as 0 points, but obviously if you do manage to get that P15, it's actually 2 points, because we do not have the last and single driver for the point. So out front, it's going to be a last lap showdown between 4 cars essentially. As you can see, we've got the Binners here, P1, myself now P2 battling with Jace, and he's essentially P3, so we've just managed to get that move done. Empire P4, so it's 4 cars for the lead, with the Binners here managing to get himself a nice little gap with 1 lap to go. So let's see how this plans out for him. Is he going to manage to take this win? It's extremely close, as we've got Jody there on the grass trying to keep out the way of the other cars, trying her best. Obviously the last thing you want to do is interfere with a last lap battle, especially when it's as close as this. So again, the pack separated by literally nothing. 4 cars can take it in this final corner, well sorry, final few corners. The bin is leading. Is it going to be a late lunch for myself? It is. We're going to bang doors. He's he's going to end up running wide. The rest of them are going to end up running wide. That felt a bit rough to me, so I'm actually going to give him that position back. So I'm not going to be taking the race win here. I felt like it was just a bit too rough, so I'm going to hand him that one back. P2 for myself, P1 for the Binners here. So Honda actually winning a race, which is awesome to see. A track that does not suit them. Jace rounds out the top 3, so well done to him. Podium for BMW, very consistent. Alexander's P5, off-road Atom P6. So there's just so many cars coming through that you just cannot keep up with it. Archangel's going to round out the top 10. Vinny Bear P11, Demon P12, Viper P13. Jody is going to take P14 ahead of Reed after his bunch of offs again.